Today I would like to share with you an incident that took place with Simcha Dov and his breathing machine, because I believe it's a very important message for us to remember as parents, teachers, colleagues, employees, and even as Baalei Tefillah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The incident that took place was Simcha Dov's breathing machine. Originally, he was given a machine that had a double tubing. Not only did it push the oxygen and the air into his lungs, but it also then took the air back into the machine before it exhaled it at the back. They recently switched it out to a single tubing where we only have one, and what we found is that we can no longer monitor certain symptoms because of that. The message is that the information we gained out of monitoring the air leaving Dov's lungs was extremely important for us to know and enabled us to understand many things that if without it, we would not understand. Upon reflection, I realized that is very important for us as parents, teachers, and colleagues to keep that in mind. Come with me back to my office and let's expound a little bit more about that. I want to share a story with you that I believe will help us understand this point much better. A number of years ago, while I was still a principal in a school, an incident took place. It happened with the middle school boys, with one specific teacher. It was a terrible incident and the boys really misbehaved. And the teacher was very upset. The teacher came to me and told me they really were not comfortable coming back the next day. So I immediately contacted the Rebbeim, and after talking about it, we decided that each of us would take one of the classes by themselves. Two of the Rebbeim were available, and they took two of the classes, and the third Rebbe was not available, so I took the third class. And each of us spoke to the students in our own ways, and we expressed to them how disappointed we were, how unacceptable this behavior was. It caused the Chilul Hashem. It hurt a person who was important. And therefore, they needed to know not to do that again. We expected more of them. They were greater than this. They were B'nai Malachim. This is not the way a Ben Torah acts. All of those messages were conveyed to the students. Afterwards, I went to each of the classes and I asked them, how did they respond to those speeches? What was very interesting is the responses that I got from each of the three classes. Now, it's important to note that I had a very good relationship and a good rapport with the majority of the students. I had been with them for many years. I was their menahel, the principal, and we had a very good relationship. So they were very comfortable in sharing with me their feelings, as you will soon see. What was amazing is that, in one level or another, all three classes had very similar responses. I asked them, how did they respond to their Rebbe talking to them about their bad behavior? There were some boys that said that they felt bad, they felt repentant, they want to do better next time. They knew that they disappointed their Rebbe and their parents and such like, and that was what we were hoping to be able to achieve. But there were some students that felt very defensive, and they became more entrenched in their behavior, and they blamed the teacher. They said it's the teacher's fault. The teacher didn't make a difference what we said to them and how much we, the Rebbeim, tried to convey to them that what they did was not acceptable no matter what. It only further reinforced their feelings that the teacher deserved it. The teacher was at fault and the teacher did something wrong. And therefore everything we did only made them more stubborn and more entrenched in their ways. And then there was a third group in each of the classes that shared that they felt empowered. They used different words each time, but they felt empowered. They felt strong. They were able to be victorious over the teacher. And the more we spoke about it, the more empowered they felt, because look how much attention they were getting. Look how much it's affecting everybody else and how powerful they are and how much they were able to achieve. And not only therefore were they more entrenched in their behaviors, but they were encouraged to continue to do so, even more so in the future. So this is the concept, that oftentimes we as teachers or as parents or as colleagues or bosses, we want to convey a message to the people we're talking to. And we know it's important. And even if we are indeed right, if we do not pay attention to the way they are receiving it, the feedback, Similar to the tubing that we were talking about, Simcha Dov, if we don't have a way of monitoring the feedback, the information that's coming back, how are they receiving it and what's going on inside of them, then oftentimes our message does not make the impact we want, and sometimes it has the reverse effect. And even using our story as a mashal, 2/3 of the responses were not what we wanted to achieve. The same thing is true with our avodah and our tefillos. The greatest avodah we had was the karbonos in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, and so too our tefillos throughout the years. But we find in the nevuos of Yeshaya and Yirmiyahu that when Hashem was not pleased with Klal Yisrael, then the karbonos were disgusting to Hashem, and Hashem wanted them to stop, and ultimately that's what caused the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. So what is the secret? What is the message? What is the point of this? Is that we need to be thinking about the people we're talking to, whether they be our students, our children, or our colleagues, or our friends, or even to our Creator. How are they receiving it? What are we doing that's appropriate for them? Are we thinking about them and what they need, or are we thinking about our message that we need to give? When we focus on ourselves and we ignore and we're not fully cognizant and focused on the receiver, then oftentimes we will miss the mark or even do the opposite. I believe that is why when we daven Shemona Esrei, we start off saying Hashem Sfosai Tiftach. We ask Hashem to help us say the words so that we can do the right thing. But we conclude with the most important pasuk, Yehi L'Rotzoin Imrei Fi, that we want the words of our mouths to be desirous to Hashem. The Heger and Libi and our hearts and the emotions that we feel in our hearts should be resonate with Hashem, because Hashem is Tzui V'Goyali, and we want Hashem to hear our tefillas, and we want that connection. So as we are now winding down the end of summer, which is the time when we are taking advantage of these last weeks with our children, or perhaps with teachers and we're gearing up for the school year, or perhaps when the Shiva and the Nechemta, the weeks of consolation, we'll be able to maintain the focus that just as important all of our preparations and all the time that we spend with our children or our colleagues or our friends, and that is how are they feeling. And we need to keep them in the forefront of our minds and directing our actions. And with that thought and with that awareness, may indeed these last weeks of summer be amazing. May we be able to connect with our children and may they feel loved. May we be able to prepare for our students so that they can feel appreciated and they can grow. And may Hashem hear our tefillos and feel our pain and bring us back ultimately so that we will be able to connect to Hashem with a binyan bayis shlishi. Amen.